quick way to start the video. All right, let me test to make sure the audio is good. All right, 1 second. Testing. Refresh. Testing. All right, cool. All right, so the audio is working. Just wanted to make sure. All right, everyone, another late night live stream. I know it will take a little bit before people come in. Usually takes about, I know I always say it usually takes about 10-15 minutes for people to get in. So there'll be any questions that you guys have, any updates about the channel that you guys might have. Been some good news in regards to the channel. That physical media video that I did was a huge success. I actually have a couple other physical media related videos that I have filmed. I still need to figure out the dates that they'll be coming out, but I know one of them will definitely be coming out this month, which I'm excited about. Just look at my phone real quick. All right. I hope everyone's having a good night, especially it being a Friday night, June 7th. I guess to start the good news, my channel's officially monetized, which is pretty big. Very happy about that. I never thought that would happen, but here we are. Like that physical media video, that was what kind of pushed me over the edge of being able to, get monetized. So now I'm just like, okay, cool. And I got like 100+ subscribers just from that video. I was like, it's great. I'm just glad that, the community is growing, because I mean, this was a channel that started almost 9 years ago. And I remember I was just happy, to even get to 100 subscribers now. Here we are all these years later. Apologize in advance. I have a gallon water bottle. But yeah, some of the videos, Ace Paulettes, what's up, man? Andrew Lay, hello, it's my first time. Welcome, Andrew. Andrew, if this is your first time, what was the video that made you subscribe to my channel? Just out of curiosity. And Ace, I think I'm on season 2, episode, I believe 6 of Sons of Anarchy. Solid so far. Characters are a bit frustrating, but it's solid. It's definitely well put together. And I do like how there's gradual build up, but still not loving it. But I know you mentioned earlier today that the later seasons are much better, so I'm excited about that. Ace Blitz, you'll see a really big change once you start season 4. Yeah, I notice a lot of times in TV shows, like season 4 is like usually pretty big, like Breaking Bad, Mr. Robot, 6 Feet Under. I'm trying to think of some other ones. I think, if I recall correctly, Oz has a pretty great season 4. It's nice. It's nice when that happens with the show. There's like an uptick in quality. Game of Thrones, yes. Good point. Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, and Mr. Robot are the ones that like I immediately come to mind. If Hannibal had a 4th season, that's what the shirt I'm wearing, that probably would have been the case too. Angela, I hit subscribe after seeing all of your best picture from 2000 playlist. Oh, awesome. I'm glad that you watched that. Stay tuned, actually, because I'm actually going to be doing even more like best picture videos. So right now I have all these like excuse me, all these Academy Award Best Picture nominees like videos where I'm like ranking all the Best Picture nominees from like a certain year. I've filmed all the videos from what is it, 1980 all the way to 2023. So if I'm not mistaken, I think there's only two videos left of the 2020s that will be coming out, and then I'll then be doing the 90s that will be coming out like each month starting. I think it's July. So, and then I'm also planning to do the 70s, and then even more ambitious, and hopefully it'll be next year. Next year, I'm planning to actually rank every Academy Award Best Picture, um, from worst to best. I know I did that before, but that was 5 years ago, and that was before I had like graphics that I would add. So I was like, you know what, I feel like I want to do that. Plus, I've rewatched certain Best Picture nominees, I mean winners, and some of them I've changed a little bit. Like Driving Miss Daisy, I used to think was actually solid. Now I'm like, eh. So it wouldn't be like middle of the pack. It'd probably be like lower on the pack. But then there's something like Gandhi where I'm like, okay, that would probably be higher up on the list. Um, Ace Blitzer Succession has a really good season four. Yes, Succession's final season was incredible. It was a culmination of everything that came before it, and it was just so satisfying. Easily one of the best finales. Um, it's so good. Honestly, in terms of TV shows, this month is going to be so overwhelming, but in a good way. Like we have The Bear, we have House of the Dragon, and then we have The Boys. And that's not even including on the side. On the side, I'm rewatching Veep. I'm watching I mean, I keep saying Justified, not Justified. Sons of Anarchy. So it's like that's a lot. Ace Blitz, yeah, it's called With Open Eyes, right? I believe. Let me fact check. I think it is. It's funny. The 1 year anniversary of it was recent, but let me double check. Yeah, With Open Eyes. It has a 9.5 on IMDb, which is warranted. It's a pretty great. It's a great finale. Ace Blitz. I need to watch The Bear. Is it good? Yes, it's incredible. It's I don't know if you've seen Uncut Gems, but it's got that like anxiety inducing vibe to it. And if you want a good precursor in terms of like what to expect, I would watch Uncut Gems if you haven't seen it. There's also a film called Boiling Point, which is all about the kitchen, and it was like filmed. I think it was a 95-minute film, but it was filmed all in one take, and that's on Prime currently. So I would watch either of those two in order to get like prepared on what to expect for The Bear. But yeah, The Bear's really good. And what's nice is that I think it's only in season three. Season three is coming out this month, but it's already like must watch TV, especially season two. There's a Thanksgiving episode, unreal in terms of the anxiety of that one. Ace Plus people say Connor's wedding is the best episode. That's tough. I thought that episode was incredible, and it's incredible, but I don't know, man. The finale just like it felt like a movie. I think it was like 90 minutes. It felt like a movie, and with what it was able to accomplish, so great. Have not seen Uncut, but I want to. Yeah, people say The Bear is high potential. Yeah, I would recommend Uncut Gems. I actually rewatched it in theaters because A24 has been collaborating with IMAX. So recently they decided to put it back in IMAX, which was cool. That was a great experience. But yeah, I would watch The Bear. The Bear is easy too in terms of like binge watching. It's only, I think it's 10 episodes per season, but it's like 25-minute episodes. So it's really not bad. Can't wait for The Boys season four. Need to watch House of Dragon still. Yeah, The Boys. I'm glad I stuck with it because that first season was kind of rough, but it's gotten better each season. So I do have high expectations for season four, but I also wonder when they're going to end the show because I'm like I hope it's not one of those shows where it goes on for far too long and then it kind of loses its original appeal. That's what I'm worried about. But House of the Dragon is really good. It's cool because it takes place like so far behind Game of Thrones, so it's able to stand on its own, whilst at the same time, in some ways strengthening Game of Thrones even more. He splits Anthony Starr's performance is incredible as Homelander. I do agree about that. It's I was surprised that honestly didn't get an Emmy nomination in terms of like his performance. Um, they said it's gonna be 5 seasons. Oh, good. Okay, if The Boys is only gonna be 5 seasons, I'm fine with that. I think that's honestly a good way to stop. Isn't it like 200 years before Game of Thrones? Yeah, it's something like that. So it's far enough to be removed from Game of Thrones, where it's like if someone hasn't seen Game of Thrones, they can still watch it and appreciate it, which I think is cool. It's not like say, trying to think of something to compare it to. Off the top of my head, I can't think of something that would compare with it, but it works on its own. I think you'll like it, and it's an easy watch. It's only 10 episodes. It's 10 episodes, and it gets better. And the finale, in particular, is just really good. There's one shot in particular involving a Scott. That's all I'm going to say. But I haven't been able to get that shot out of my mind. It's so good. He splits loving Mr. Robot at the moment. I'm so glad that you're watching it, man. Mr. Robot gets better and better. It's got a lot of rewatchability value too. I think I've seen it. I'm trying to think. I think I've seen it 3 or 4 times all the way through. And I think by the third time it was like, yeah, this is definitely my favorite show. And I don't know if it's gonna be beat any time. Like, could be though. Because if you had told me that Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones would be topped, I would say no, no way. But here we are. But the twist with Mr. Robot was really good. It's literally some Fight Club stuff. Yeah, so that's what I love about Mr. Robot. The more films you've seen, the more you appreciate about the show. But that's not to say all of the film references. It's not one of those things where it's like, oh, if you haven't seen the films, that you can't appreciate the show. You still can. Like for example, when I last saw Mr. Robot, I hadn't seen the film Blowout, and in retrospect, I realized that the film Blowout like influenced Mr. Robot a lot. And I didn't realize that because I hadn't seen it since, the last time that I saw Mr. Robot. So I'm like, now if I were to rewatch it, I'm sure that there would be even more that I would appreciate about it. Like I'm pretty sure the theme song of Blowout was played, but I didn't see the film, so I didn't pick up on that. But because I've seen a decent amount of films, there's a lot of references I'm able to pick up on. And they even reference TV shows. Like there's one episode of Mr. Robot that is literally ripped right from the Pine Barrens episode of Sopranos. And in my opinion, does it better. Hot take, I know, but it is what it is. Um, there was also a Pulp Fiction reference. Still need to watch that. Yes, there is. There's also Back to the Future reference, which is huge. I mean, I shouldn't even say reference. References. It's throughout the show. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that are off the top of my head. Girl with Dragon Tattoo is also referenced. I mean, that's about a hacker. This is about a hacker. Off the top of my head, what are some of the other ones? Oh, well, The Therapist, that's also a reference to The Sopranos. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. Like I said, because it's late, sometimes I'm not like 100% in regards to saying like, oh yeah, this. Um, oh yeah, I remember Elliot saying that's his favorite movie. Yes, which is very important. It's in many ways the key to the whole show. And you'll see it's funny because you'll also see that in season 2 there's one character that's like obsessed with Seinfeld, and without spoiling a certain episode, that ties into one of the episodes. And that one episode is just incredible. It feels like so out of left field, and yet it doesn't totally because it works within the context of the show. So just me, Mr. Raw feels very Dexter inspired. Um, I to be honest, I didn't really think of Dexter when watching Mr. Robot. Trying to think. No, not really, to be honest. I think it's just because when I think of Dexter, I think of more of like the serial killer aspect. versus Mr. Robot. I think of like the hacking aspect and like the family dynamic aspects. But I think I get what you're saying in regards to like Darlene and Elliot, like their relationship, similar to maybe being like Dexter and Deborah. I could kind of see that. Because both have internal monologues, both do things at night, and both collect things. Yeah, honestly, that's a good point. I didn't think about it like that. But when you put it that way, it makes sense. But I think the difference among many things is that with Elliot, it's more so like the internal monologues is because he has like multiple personality disorder. Um, and then with the DVDs and everything that he holds, it's in many ways to kind of try to keep track of like his reality versus Dexter. It's like having all these slides. It's more of like, hey, this is like to remember these. Actually, I guess in some ways, like if you look at remembrance, it's like, well, in some ways, this is for him to remember like his past victims. So I can see what you're saying. Like Elliot is a hacker at night, and Dexter kills people at night. Yeah, I guess I get what you're saying in regards to like the nightlife kind of getting more attention, so to speak, in both shows. It's interesting though because I know that the two shows, like in terms of cinematography, they're like very different. Like Dexter is more of like very bright, very Miami driven, and then Mr. Robot is like dreary, digitally shot, like having the the people would be at like one of the quadrants, like the right bottom quadrant, to give it like this off kilter feeling. Yeah, I agree. The filmmaking and Mr. Robot is amazing. And I can say that one of my friends is involved with like computers, and I got him to watch the show, Mr. Robot, and he said that the hacking is like pretty accurate. That you can like actually do a lot of that stuff, and I appreciate that. Sam Esmail's a really good director. He also did a film which I know many audiences did not like, but he did a film called Leave the World Behind, and I liked it. Not for everyone, but I liked it. And I just think he's a director that to definitely be on the lookout for. Like the fact that he was able to do Mr. Robot and like have full creative control, it's amazing, honestly. I feel like more shows need to have that kind of mentality where it's like you have one person kind of overseeing everything, so then that way it's like completely focused. Even when you might not necessarily think it is focused, like I said, season two, you'll probably feel that way. It still is focused though in retrospect. That's what's great about rewatching something. What's your favorite pilot? Mine is Mr. Robot at the moment. That's a good. So I do have a video on that, but I made the video like 3 or 4 years ago. I forget what I. Oh, no, you know what? I don't forget. I think I said Fargo because that was the first time where I saw a show and I was immediately captivated. Where I was like, "Wow, they just did something that normally they do at the end of a show." It just blew my mind. So I think I did say Fargo season one, the premiere, because that was just so good. Um, you're supposed to need to watch Fargo. Heard the first two seasons are incredible. Yes, Fargo season one, two are some of the best TV I've ever seen. Season three I really like. Season four is alright, and season five is one of those shows where while watching it week to week, I was captivated. But in retrospect, it's solid. It's fine. Um, but I don't know. It's hard to top those first three seasons, though. Are they doing a six or is it done? I don't know. The way the creator Noah Hawley works is that he doesn't just keep churning it out. To be honest with you, he has it where he just sits back and he'll work on like other shows, and then if he has like an idea for Fargo, he'll then try to then create something off of that. And that's why the show has been going on for 10 years, but you only have 5 seasons. It's because he tries to take his time with it. And in some ways it shows, in some ways it doesn't. I feel like when we got those first 3 seasons, it was like he was definitely on a creative high. And then the later seasons, it was like some of it worked, some of it didn't quite work fully. But yes, you heard correctly. The villains are incredible in season 1, and I will say season 2 as well. Bukim, what's his name? There's an actor in season 2 who plays a villain, and he's really good. He has like some interesting monologues, but yeah, I mean, Billy Bob Thornton's performance in season 1 is incredible, and you even have like surprise appearances. Like you have, when I first saw it, I didn't know who Kane Peele were, but you have Kane Peele in the season 1 of Fargo, and they are completely fitting to the scenarios. You have to watch the film. Um, Here's the thing: yes and no. No, technically, would I recommend it? Yes. The reason why I recommend it is because they have a couple references to the movie, but you technically could watch season 1 without it. Like it's an anthology show, so you could technically just watch the first 2 seasons of Fargo if you really wanted to. Each season stands on its own. The later seasons don't really reference the other seasons as much, but you can definitely watch season 1 and 2 of Fargo, no problem. But definitely check out both. I would also recommend, in terms of Fargo, the director, the Coen brothers are great. Like they do a lot of really good stuff. They're pretty consistent. I would say personally, in terms of, to answer your question, if I think it's worth watching past season 3, um, I would say season 4 is truthfully hit or miss. There are some elements I like, but I would still say give it a shot. And then season 5, I would say overall, yeah, I think it's dealing with some stuff that's pretty cool. Um, how certain characters get from point A to B was pretty interesting. So I would say yeah. Matt, welcome to the chat. Best Sean Penn performance. I think easily it might have to be his performance in Mystic River. I actually recently rewatched that performance, and that was just gut wrenching. Such a great performance. His performance in Milk, though, is really good as well. But when you asked that question, that was the first performance that came in my head. What's your favorite Sean Penn performance, though? I'm curious because he's a good actor. Ice Splits, what's your favorite TV episode? Favorite TV episode? That's tough, man. That changes every day, pretty much. I would say, off the top of my head, off the top of my head, it it might be Game of Thrones, season 6, the finale, the Winds of Winter, because that, even though I enjoy season 7 and 8, that felt like it could have ended the show, and it was just such a cathartic experience. But I also love stuff like I love a lot of like finales, like season 3 finale of Mr. Robot is just incredible, like truly outstanding work. The score at the end of that episode in particular is just so good. Matt, I agree. Yeah, honestly, I should maybe sometime do a like top 10 like performances of like a certain actor. Daniel Day Lewis is my personal favorite actor, and I've always wanted to do like a top 10 of his performances. But it's tough because I always feel like obligated, like with my director ranking list, I always feel obligated to watch all the directors' work in order to give an actual, ranking. And that's why I just don't do actor ranking lists. But I should for something like Daniel Day Lewis because I think I've seen all of his work. Um, he splits. It would have been better if it ended in season 6, in my opinion. That's fair. Like I said, I do enjoy season 7 and 8 of Game of Thrones, no question. I think season 7, the finale especially, is like really good. Although I don't like what they did with Littlefinger. I thought that was stupid. Matt, Mystic River, Clear's Way, Dead Man Walking, Milk the Game. That's fair. That's very fair. Of those movies, the only one I haven't seen is Dead Man Walking. I've heard of it, but it's not on my watch list. But I think now I will be adding it to my watch list. Yeah, the game doesn't get enough attention. I'm a huge Fincher fan, by the way, Matt. I don't know how long you've been subscribed to me, but I'm a huge David Fincher fan. So the game, I'm with you there. I own that on Blu-ray. Ace Plus Her, There Will Be Blood is amazing. Agreed. There Will Be Blood is actually my top 5 films of all time, and that performance by Daniel Day Lewis might be my favorite performance ever. Might be. It's pretty incredible. I could watch that performance for 10 hours a day. It's so good. Matt in that order. Ace Plus Littlefinger was so good in the first 4 seasons. Yeah, I mean, I would even argue that in season 5 and 6, with what he was doing, like it worked in terms of like his character. It made sense. But season 7, him just like skulking around and just getting like outsmarted by a couple girls doing like a plan off screen. I don't know. That was something that I can get. I can get behind a lot of off screen stuff, but offing one of those smartest people in Westeros with a plan that is kind of nonsensical. I don't know. I just wasn't about it personally. And it's a shame because he was one of my favorite characters. Like he was someone where I was like, this guy's really interesting. Morally, no, he's not a good character, but like in terms of well written, yes, he is. Varys was also someone that I liked, but I will say his arc I'll defend. He splits. How do you feel about Justify now after finishing it a little bit ago? Honestly, I still feel the same way about Justified. I think it's a rock solid show with very, very interesting characters. I don't know. Part of me kind of wishes that it wasn't like FX. Like part of me wishes it was like HBO. Um, I don't know. I feel like maybe a network, like a different kind of distributor, would have worked better. But I still liked it. Um, I just like right now. I just feel so bad, like in terms of Sons of Anarchy, because I'm like having this feeling in my mind. I'm like, oh no, am I not gonna like Sons of Anarchy? Like love it. I'm like, or is this gonna be like a Yellowstone situation where I'm like, oh, I'm in the minority? Yikes. Um, Matt, thoughts on Kate Winslet? I feel like I haven't watched enough of her films. What's her best performance? Ooh, glad you mentioned her. So she might be my favorite like actress. It's tough between like her and Scarlett Johansson. Kate Winslet, her performances in Revolutionary Road, Little Children, The Reader. It's a good performance, but I don't think she should have won the Oscar for that. I think she probably should have won for like Little Children. Although I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think she didn't even get nominated for that, but she should have. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, she's also amazing in. So I would say if you haven't seen a lot of her stuff, I would say start with those. She's amazing. I found out not too long ago that she's actually British. Never thought that in my life that she was. She has that good of an American accent. And if you do like TV shows, Mayor of Easttown, which PA resident, um, that show takes place in PA, and it does a pretty good job depicting it, I would say. Although the accent, I mean, I don't think I have an accent, but that show does have like a very specific area of like Pennsylvania, like a certain county. So it's like I don't have that accent, but I've seen some people have that accent. But you will hear a lot of people in PA say water and be obsessed with Wawa. So that is accurate. So definitely recommend Mare of Easttown. Um, he splits HBO is the best service, in my opinion. Oh, hands down. It's not even a question. I still need to review The Sympathizer. I've been putting that off. What was your thoughts on Tig killing Donna in season 1? Um, honestly, sorry, it just took me a moment to realize. I mean, honestly, I have to look at my phone to see which one was which. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie to you. Ace. Season 1 kind of blended together. I hate saying it, but like there wasn't really much that stood out other than just like the constant mother son relationship that just like really annoyed me and made me want to roll my like eyes in the back of my head. I was just like, oh my goodness, come on. Let me check. I need to look up the names 1 second. Oh, now I remember what you're talking about. Yes. So I don't know. I mean, it made sense because he's kind of scumball. I mean, he's kind of someone that just does whatever. So it made sense, but I didn't really have any feelings towards it. And I think that's what's kind of worrying me about the show is that I've heard so many people praise the fact that they kill people left and right. And I've seen that happen so far. And I'm just like, I just like shrug my shoulders. I'm like, okay, okay. And I don't know. I'm very worried because I'm just like, I know this show is beloved. I know so many people that love Sons of Anarchy, and so many people praise the characters, and I'm just like, I'm not feeling it. Like, I just feel like even the lead character, it's like he tries to be his own person, but then he has everyone trying to tell him what to do, and it's just like, okay, so he's just bouncing back and forth. I don't know. It's not that interesting to me. But I want to be. I want to be interested in his character and especially his girlfriend because I'm just like that relationship on paper could be, but it's frustrating. Um, Matt, I just can't get with Wes Anderson. His style is so self-indulgent. Although Rushmore is great. Oh, it's a shame you don't like Wes Anderson. I hate to say it, but I'm actually a huge Wes Anderson fan. Like I love Wes Anderson. Asteroid City, I know that when it came out last year, I know a lot of people weren't a big fan of that film. I loved it. I own it on Blu-ray. I've seen it several times. One of my favorite films from last year. I really like the fact that when you watch one of his films, his style immediately sticks out, and that's something to me that's really important. I want to be able to say like, wow, this is someone that has a vision. He has something to actually tell. Um, I like it when a director has that, as opposed to someone that it's like just going through the motions and it's like, okay, it's just a studio for hire kind of person. Doesn't really interest me. But I understand a lot of people don't like Wes Anderson, so I get that. My wife isn't the biggest fan of him, so I get that. Um, Ace Watts, if you think Gemma is bad now, I'm scared for your reaction to season 7. Oh, great. Yeah, dude, it's one of those things like I always try to praise like female characters, especially in TV. And even someone like Skylar in Breaking Bad, like I 100% get her viewpoint. And I even in many ways agree with her viewpoint. But someone like Gemma, who's just like constantly trying to micromanage her adult son, it's just something where I'm just like, oh, great. Like it's just so frustrating because it doesn't really give him an identity, and I get that that's the whole point of the show, but it nonetheless still makes it frustrating. So I'm trying to differentiate though, like the entertainment value, like that's a part of my brain, as opposed to the appreciation of the filmmaking and everything. And that's why I'm like overall it's solid. But I'd be lying if I said I was entertained right now. I'm just more frustrated than anything. Just so Guerrero, I agree with Winds of Winter. It was one of my favorite episodes from Game of Thrones. Favorite musical score set the tone with Wildfire, Explosion King's Landing. Are you watching House of Dragon? Joseph, thank you for joining. Yeah, Winds of Winter was incredible. I'll never forget the first time I saw that episode. I was just like so surprised by that. Like the build up, the organ, it was just so good. I will definitely be watching House of Dragon. I thought season 1 was really good, and I really liked, especially like the later episodes. I mentioned earlier, I think it's really cool that it's like 200 years prior to Game of Thrones, so it's like it's able to be its own thing, and there's no like immediate fan service, which I think can sometimes be distracting. So I'm excited. I'll definitely be watching it week to week. Um, Hey Splits, if you don't like the whole show, you should like the finale. It's considered one of the best episodes ever. Don't think a character has ever annoyed me as much as season 7 of Gemma. All right, well, I guess I got to brace myself. Yeah, I mean, like I said, Sons of Anarchy on paper should be a slam dunk because I love shows that deal with morally ambiguous characters, like morally gray themes. Like that's all stuff that really interests me, and especially when it's a show that is tackling, um, all these different deaths of all these different characters, and it's like they're really going through all of this, and there's constant surprises. So it's like it should work for me, but I just think how it's going about it, the execution hasn't so far. But I'm going to stick with it. I think especially if season 7's that great, I'll stick with it. Um, just where so the Mines was solid too. Yeah, I know Ace mentioned that one of the other live streams. If maybe I'll check it out like afterwards. I'm not sure though, because I know even with Justify when I watched it, I didn't watch the Primeval. I didn't like check that out. Um, I don't know. Usually when something like continues afterwards, like years after, it just usually isn't as good, in my opinion. Ace never watched Mines, didn't hear good things. The ratings I saw on IMDb seemed solid enough. So maybe if I love season 7 enough, maybe I'll check it out. Matt, I'm from England, so I didn't grow up with SNL, but I enjoy online clips from time to time. Are you a fan? And what is the best era of cast? So I do watch SNL. Usually when it comes out, I'll check out like a couple videos here and there. I didn't grow up with it though. In fact, I didn't really start watching SNL until a couple years ago. It's one of those things where like when I'm cooking, I'll watch, but there's nothing really laugh out loud funny. It's more like chuckles to pass the time. But yeah, it's enjoyable enough. There's some though that I will say that I do think are pretty funny. Um, the best is usually during what's it called, election year. That's usually the funniest stuff. So I'm expecting in a couple months it to get really really funny. So I'm hoping though. A Split season 4 is the most consistently good season in the show, in my opinion. They start making side characters really interesting, like Juice. That's good to know. Honestly, some of the side characters, I think there's a lot of like potential, but I just don't really I don't really see the focus being put on them in a way that makes it interesting yet. But I know the potential's there. I just really want Jax to get out from under his mom. Like that's the big thing. Where I'm just like, oh, dude, come on now, like, dude. And like his girlfriend, I like her. I think she's really interesting, and I like that whole dynamic of someone that's like, you know, moving away from like someone that like an ex-boyfriend. Like that was something that I thought was interesting. But then it's like the mom gets super involved with their relationship. And it's just like, dude, like, come on now. Like, I just want to throw my phone across the room. I'm just like, dude, stop. Who do you think has potential right now? You'll like Jack Slot later. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad that it sounds like he becomes his own person, which based on his dad's writing, seemed like that's what he wanted. So I like that. And I honestly do love that. I love the idea of his dad writing out those books, how like, hey, Sons of Anarchy wasn't originally like this. But this is what it became. I think that's fascinating because I feel like that's something that happens so much where it's like originally this like something like an idea is like this, but then over time it changes and then it manifests into something that's like a snowball effect. So I do like that. In terms of side characters, let me look it up because like I said, I'm only on season 2. I think I was gonna say Juan. Turns out his name's Juice, like you said. I think he has a lot of potential. I also like Deputy Chief David Hale. I like him. It's funny because I know he's in Yellowstone and he's the creator of said show. I think that he's just so good, and I really like how he's with the law, but at the same time, like he's delving into a lot of Sons of Anarchy related stuff, and that just really fascinates me. Like whenever he's on screen, I'm like, okay, here we go. The Mayan stuff with Sons of Anarchy, I'm like, okay, like this is fine, I suppose. Um, Just for Adam Sandler's my favorite. So is Era with Chris Rock. Farley Spade was my favorite in reference to SNL. Yeah, I didn't really watch Adam Sandler's Error because I was late to SNL, but I have heard that he was really good on that. Honestly, it might be a hot take, but Adam Sandler, I prefer when he's in more serious roles. Like I prefer him in Uncut Gems and Punch Drunk Love. I think when he's in stuff like that, that's when he really thrives. When he does those movies where it's like, he takes his buddies on a cruise to film a Netflix movie, doesn't really work for me, unfortunately. Used to see a house. Cool. Just where Juice and include my favorites. Oh, no, I misread that. Juice and Chives are my faves. Joseph, what was your favorite season of Sons of Anarchy? I'm curious. I'm glad that there's a lot of people that have been watching or watched Sons of Anarchy. I know I'm late to it. I'm just curious with where it's going to go, to be honest. Let me actually check just to give you guys an accurate, because I keep track on IMDb. Let me see what episode I'm on. So I'm on season 2, episode 6. So I should finish it within the next week or so, like season 2. And then I try to spread it out, so I'll then probably watch season 3 next month, and season 4 the following month, just to spread it out. Is what you should like the season 2 finale. A lot of people liked it. Yeah, I saw the ratings. The ratings, it looks like, got higher with each episode in season 2, so that's good to know. Matt, trying to work through Woody Allen movies. I've only seen Annie Hall. What are the ones you recommend? That's the one. So I've only seen it, like, I want to say 10 Woody Allen films, but that's the thing. Like, I haven't ranked his films on my channel because he's done so many. Like, he has a film come out each year. So Annie Hall, in my opinion, is his best. I think it's an incredible film. It's one of my favorite films of all time. Midnight in Paris is all right. Manhattan is okay, but it in many ways hasn't really aged that well. So Vicky Christie Barcelona, I do want to rewatch. I didn't like it when I watched it years ago, but I've matured a lot since I saw it a decade ago. So I want to give it a second chance. But I would say Midnight in Paris for now. If you've seen Andy Hall, you've seen his best work. Ace Blitz, what's the last thing that happened? What was the last thing that happened? This thing, man, like a lot of it just blends together. Again, I hate saying, but I'm just like watching, like, okay. Sorry, I'm just checking. Oh, there's the one guy that's like he's in with the law, but at the same time he's going against the Sons of Anarchy. Now I'm assuming he's going to get killed off by the end of this season. Angela, hi again. Sorry, I've been waiting for my Wi-Fi to work properly for the last 40 minutes. Like Murph waiting for her dad. I like that reference. Dude, it's all good. I get it. I mean, I still need to figure out how to use StreamYard. StreamYard is how I'm going to try to use live streams from now on, because I am trying to use this like week to week. I know I said that several weeks back, and now I'm like, holy cow, it was 3 weeks ago since I last did a live stream. So I apologize about that. That was my mistake. Ace Blitz W Interstellar reference. For all you guys that have seen Interstellar, I do want to say this. Watch 2001: A Space Odyssey. Masterpiece. That film greatly inspired Interstellar. And it's because of that film that when I watched Interstellar in theaters, 10 minutes in, I knew that, that was Murph. That Murph was the ghost. No Square, original Sons of Anarchy, been a while, but if I reveal favorite, might spoil for you. Oh, definitely don't spoil then. Ace Blitz, I always thought the most interesting characters were Jax, Clay, Juice. Need to watch Space Odyssey first. Brilliant, love space stuff. Dude, yeah, 2001: Space Odyssey it's a masterpiece. It's in my top 25 of all time. It's funny because it's gone up the rankings with each passing year. It's a masterpiece. And it's just, with each viewing, I gain more and more from that film. And yeah, those characters I really like too. Like I said, Jax is the one where I'm like, I want to love him. And I'm hoping that by season 7, it's like that I do. Angel Lane never been on acid, but I thought watching 2001 felt like it. Agreed. Stanley Kubrick, one of the best directors. He's one of those directors where even if you've seen all of his work, your ranking of his work will constantly change, because with each rewatch of his filmography, there's more and more to appreciate. Like Barry Lyndon, second time I watched it, I was like, wow, that was a masterpiece. It was even better than when I last saw it. I've been itching to rewatch that. Ace Blitz, what show has the best cinematography in your opinion? That would be the show, Hannibal. I would say that probably has the best cinematography. It is insane how great that is. Every single shot in that show could be a painting. A demented painting, yes, but a painting. It is gorgeous. A show about cannibalism should not be that beautiful, and yet it is. And it's also shot digitally. It's not shot on film. Like I love how Succession was shot on film. I love how Breaking Bad was shot on film. Um, but it's funny because a show like Hannibal, even though it was shot digitally, I think that it might have the best cinematography. I remember in high school, that's actually how I found out about Hannibal. My critical viewing teacher, he was like, "Hey, have you seen Hannibal?" I was like, "No." He's like, "Well, dude, you're always talking about cinematography, and that's the best cinematography on TV. Check it out." So I checked it out, and I was like, "Yeah, he has a point." Um, Matt, Discord server for movies. Yeah, so actually, I recently got. I was gonna wait until there's more people in the chat, which there are now, but recently I actually got monetized for YouTube. So I do have an option for that. I just wasn't sure how many people might be interested in doing a Discord server for movies. I would definitely try to keep up with that, like doing it at least like once a week or once every 2 weeks. But right now I have the tiers. I think it's. Let me actually pull it up so I can give you guys accurate information in regards to the tiers. There's 3 tiers, and I'm not going to lie, one of the tiers is kind of outrageous. But if you hear my mindset, you'll understand why it's outrageous. So the 3 tiers for the memberships are $2.99 for replies and shout outs, meaning that if you make a comment on one of my videos, you get the priority. And then also in terms of live streams, I give you a shout out, meaning like at the beginning of the video, I'm like, shout out to, so and so. Live stream early access, meaning that there would be a members only live stream, which almost like a Discord. And then early access to new videos, meaning you would get access like a week early to my videos, $5.99. And then the really expensive one, and again, I know it's expensive, but I'll explain why. Movie review choice, $49.99. The reason why it's so expensive is because there are some movies that I've seen on other people's channels where it's like it's hard to find certain movies. So it's like tracking it down, possibly having to buy the physical media, like all that will add up. And so I'm like, okay, so that kind of compensates for that. So I'm not expecting that to happen too often, but those are the 3 tiers I wanted to mention. If at some point I might change the pricing, I'm not sure yet, but I just wanted to throw that out there. And now for the comments. Ace Watts is Hannibal cinematography better than any film ever? No. In terms of film is much different because for film, most films I would say 2014 were shot on film, and film just does so much more, man. Like if you watch something like The Tree of Life, anything Terrence Malick, Thin Red Line, The New World, stuff like that, it's just utterly gorgeous. Hannibal's up there, though. Hannibal's up there. Just to grow, we've seen both Interstellar and 2001, both excellent. I own Interstellar. I would highly recommend also owning 2001: A Space Odyssey, especially on 4K. It's easily the best 4K I've ever seen. It is incredible. That was an incredible transfer that they were able to do. Big proponent of physical media. Ace Plus love Matthew McConaughey and Interstellar. Need to watch True Detective season 1. Heard it's incredible. You can make Discord for shows and movies. Yeah, maybe I will. Honestly, I should make that one of the tiers. If there's a lot of interest for that, then I'm down to do that. And I do agree. Season 1 of True Detective is outstanding. I do own that on Blu-ray, and I think that is incredible. It's actually kind of funny because watching Sons of Anarchy does kind of remind me of True Detective. I know Sons of Anarchy came first, but there's one episode in True Detective where it's all about bikers and everything, and I'm just like, oh wow. So like, I guess True Detective owes a lot to Sons of Anarchy. Just where I'm a huge horror fan, but not everyone is. But I'm excited for the new Alien Romulus movie coming. It has the feels of original Aliens. Yes, I'm a huge horror fan too. I actually have, if you go on my top 10 lists, I actually have a top 10 horror films of all time video, in my personal opinion, of course. I think it's a genre that consistently gives out some good films each year. Alien Romulus, I'm not going to lie, like when I saw the first trailer, I was excited, but when I saw the second trailer, it just looked too digital. I'm going to still keep an open mind, but I don't know. Like the director, I think is solid. And I do like the cast, but I'm going in like with whelming feelings. Not like overwhelmed. It's like I'm so pumped, but also not like I don't think it's gonna be good. Like I'm hoping it's good. Like I liked Prometheus. I liked Alien Covenant. Love Alien, and Aliens is good too. So I do like it as a franchise. So I'm hoping it's good. Matt, I sent a link in the chat to a server called Cinemates if anyone wants to talk movies. I don't think it works though. Oh yeah. There wasn't. I didn't see a link. I would send it again. Angela, I've been watching a lot of classics for the first time this year. I'm afraid to spill my hot takes on them. Oh boy, you should put them in the chat. Also, Andrew, if you've been watching a lot of classics, I don't know if you have Letterboxd, but if not, you should definitely get Letterboxd and follow me on there. Letterboxd is amazing. Like you can log movies, rate the movies you've seen. You can even review them if you want. Um, that's what I do all the time. Splits. Would you like more Mizumana or Wrath of the Lamb? Heard they're both incredible. Um, Mizumana. I believe that's the season 2 finale. That's incredible. Like that episode of TV is just outstanding. I mean, as you see, like I own a shirt of Hannibal. Like I'm a pretty big fan of the show. I try to watch it every October. I think I told you last time. Yeah, what I try to do is I start Hannibal October 1st with the goal of finishing it by October 31st, and then I rewatch Silence of the Lambs October 31st. Heard there's a scene with Hannibal in the rain that's breathtaking. Yes, I wish someone didn't tell you that, but yes, that scene is amazing. Made me cry actually the last 2 times. It's a very emotional episode. Like everything comes full circle in that episode, and the dialogue in that episode is so good. How many times have you watched Hannibal and Silence of the Lambs? So I've seen Silence of the Lambs. I want to say almost a dozen times. Hannibal is different though because I didn't start the tradition of every October watching Hannibal and then Silence of the Lambs. I didn't start that until like a couple years ago. So Hannibal as a whole, I think I've seen I want to say 5 times. And it never gets old because there's consistently like twists and turns where it's like, oh yeah, I almost forgot about that. Oh wow, oh that's so hard to watch, but it's so worth it. I honestly can't wait for you to watch that show because it's so good. How do you rank the Hannibal seasons? So for me, it goes season 2, 1, and 3. 3 is the weakest, but it's amazing. I still love it. Matt, who do you think is the best upcoming actor right now? I think it's Jeremy Allen White. I hope he gets a lot of great film roles in the next few years. I agree. I think that he is really, really good. Um, I absolutely love him as an actor, like with what he's been able to do. In terms of best upcoming actors, there's one that let me look. There was somebody that I was just thinking about, but I need to have a reminder. 1 second. Sorry, I'm going on. Where is it? Sorry, I'm quickly looking on Letterboxd. There was an actor that I stumbled across where I was like, oh wow, they could be really good. Oh, now I remember. Um, she didn't really like nobody really seems to be talking about her, but and I apologize if I'm gonna mispronounce this, but Olivia Brown. She plays young Furioso in Furiosa Mad Max Saga. Her performance was outstanding. Like I was like, holy cow. And even just like looking on Letterbox, like she was in Sting earlier this year, which I haven't seen yet. And apparently she's gonna be in Sonic 3, which I'm assuming that's what's gonna make her a household name, of course. But she seems like she has what it takes to go from like a child actress to a teen actress to an adult actress. Like I think she is someone that can actually go through all 3 cycles. I think she has what it takes. I was gonna say Anya Taylor Joy, but at this point she is pretty much like well known. Um, Andre Lay, right? Found your letterbox followed, dude. Yes, Let me follow you back. Yeah, to everyone else, if you don't have Letterboxd, this is my point in time to say, hey, get Letterboxd. It's pretty amazing. Mine is just my first name dot last name. Andrew Lay, I'm looking. I'm not seeing any hot takes. I see you log a lot of movies, but I'm not seeing any hot takes. I want to see some of those hot takes. Explains Hannibal most likely is my next watch. Found an app. It's exactly like Letterboxd, but for TV shows, I recommend getting it. It's a lot better than the IMDb layout. It's called Serialized. I've heard of that, and honestly, IMDb it is very flawed in terms of like the layout because there's some episodes where I'm like, oh yeah, 7.5 out of 10, but you can't put down that rating. You have to either give it a 7 or an 8. So in terms of that, I'm like, okay, I guess I'll give it a 7. Just so where I'll check out your top 10 horror video. I'm sure I will agree with most of your choices. LOL. Yeah, the second Alien trailer had me more pumped. Yeah, I prefer horror with not as much CGI as well. Yeah, which I mean, don't get me wrong, like especially in today's day and age, but CGI, it's like it's something that's kind of baked in regards to filmmaking, which I understand, but I always like it when it's something that it's not really noticeable, where it just blends in seamlessly with all the other aspects of the filmmaking. Like for me, that's when it works. CGI is only bad when it's bad CGI, if that makes sense. Like when CGI is good, people don't notice it, and it's like it's not something they critique. David Fincher, I say this time and time again. David Fincher, my favorite filmmaker, uses CGI all the time. I don't critique that because he does it so well. Like he has in his films more CGI than a lot of like big blockbusters, but you don't care because it's so well done. Andrew Lance Clays, my friend, would give all his money for a letterbox version of TV shows. Nice. Matt followed you. Oh, let me check. I see you, Matt. Yep, Matt 2001. I like your top four. Jerry Maguire, Mystic River, Up in the Air, Social. Dude, Social Network. There we go. David Fincher. I love the Social Network. I've reviewed that. I've reviewed that a half a dozen times on Letterboxd, but I've seen it much more. I love that film. Easily top 25. No question. Ace. You need to get the Letterboxd, man. Same with you, Joseph. I would highly recommend it. Ace, what's the worst CGI you've ever seen? Um, I'm trying to think. That's so tough because there's so many times where I'll see bad CGI and it's like I'll write about it, but then I just like forget about it. I'm trying to think off the top of my head that like it's usually fire. Fire is like the hardest thing to do CGI for. So it's usually I'll watch something and it's like I'll just see the fire. I'm just like, oh, that doesn't look convincing. Like it just doesn't work. I'm trying to think of a recent film where it was like, oh wow, that was really bad. Let me actually go. I know I'm cheating here, but let me actually go on my letterbox to see like some of the movies I've given a 1 out of 5. Because usually it's like a movie that I've given like a really bad rating to, and then I'm just like, oh yeah, it's because of oh I should have remembered this. Madam Web CGI was pretty bad. Like that was pretty painful because when you have it where it's like the cinematography, it's like shot digitally, and then you have CGI that's not convincing. It just gives such a disgusting look, and I hate that. I hate when I experience that. Doolittle with Robert De Niro, not Robert De Niro, Robert Downey Jr. My bad. That had pretty bad CGI. RIPD was pretty bad in terms of CGI. Um, the Velocipaster has some pretty bad. You know what? Who am I kidding? I think the worst CGI I've seen might be Birdemic. If you've ever seen Birdemic, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, do yourself a favor. Watch Birdemic. It has some of the worst CGI you'll ever see. Like there is literally a scene where people are trying to, flee from the birds, and all they have is like these coat hangers. So they're like pretending to hit these birds, and it's like the birds are like barely moving. They're just like this, but it's like they're clearly like I'm trying to think how to explain it. it's like they're barely moving, but it's like they're right there, and it's like they're hitting through it. So it's like they didn't even finish it. It was just so bad. That was a terrible movie. Um, Ace Let's Her Social Network is great. It is. Matt, Social Network is perfection. Absolutely agree. That is one of the greatest films of all time. And here's the other thing: the fact that it lost Best Picture, The King's Speech, that is my um that is my Crash Brokeback Mountain. Like that's when people talk about like worst wins of all time. That is mine. Like I think Brokeback Mountain should have won over Crash 100%, but King's Speech winning over Social Network, that is the one that actually gives me outrage. And I know some people get outraged over like Saving Private Ryan losing to Shakespeare in Love. That's a can of worms for another time, or I guess on this chat. Um, Angela, yeah, I don't rate review films on Letterboxd. I don't want to cringe at myself on rewatches. LOL, dude. Honestly, there's no shame in that, man. Honestly, it shows growth. Like I love when I see that I gave a film like 3 out of 5, and then like on rewatch it goes to like 4 out of 5, and then 5 out of 5, or even vice versa. Like it just shows growth. That happened to me with Nightmare Alley, the remake. I thought it was all right the first time, and then now I think it's one of my favorite films of all time. Ace Let's Heard, Madam Web was terrible. Oh yeah, it was. If you have Netflix, highly recommend you check it out. That was a terrible movie. It's not even the worst movie though I've seen. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I forgot. No. Going back to the question, who was it that asked? Who was asked? Ace, to answer your question, what's the worst CGI you've ever seen? It actually might have been this year. Just slipped. There's a movie called Not Another Church Movie. It's parodying Tyler Perry movies. And it has some baffling, terrible green screen effects. There's every time Mickey Rourke comes on screen playing the devil, he has all this fire around him, which going back to what I said earlier, how fire is the hardest like element in terms of CGI, like fire and water. Like it doesn't even look like they tried. Like it looks like he has like I'm trying to think of how to explain it. It seems like he has like 1990s CGI fire all around him, but then it looks all digital, so it just gives it like this disgusting look, and that happens throughout the film. So it's very like off-putting. So yeah, I would say that's the worst film I've seen this year, no question. Just Square also owns. Green Man Web was not good. Yeah, it wasn't. And I couldn't even laugh about it in theaters because there were other people that were in the theater that I saw it with, and they seemed to be into it. So I'm not going to ruin people, enjoying a movie. Um, Matt Fincher losing director is even more painful. Oh yeah, dude. Like Tom Hooper, like I've ranked all of his movies, but like Tom Hooper and David Fincher, the fact that someone was like, you know what, Tom Hooper, let's give him best director. It's like no, he was easily the weakest director of that list. Like you had the Coen Brothers directing True Grit, fantastic film. Darren Aronofsky directing Black Swan, great film. Social Network, David Fincher. Like it's just like why? Like why? Like why? It was just so frustrating. Like you gave the safest movie that year best picture. Like, and I'm saying that as someone that's also saying like the themes of King's Speech are important, yes, but the Social Network is literally a once in a lifetime movie. So it's like, I could go on a rant. I should do a whole video about that. Ice Plus, what's your favorite David Fincher movie? It's tough. I go back and forth between Gone Girl and Social Network. I think both are films that had a huge impact on me, but Gone Girl, I would have to say. But Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is up there too. I think Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is incredible. Joseph Guerrero, Marvel in general just hasn't been good, sadly. Yeah, but honestly, it's kind of a good thing because then that means that there'll be other, people out there trying to make movies that aren't just like IP. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But it is kind of a shame that and I was speaking to my wife about this earlier. It's kind of a shame that movies that are like in the mid-budget range just get put on streaming as opposed to theaters. Like I haven't finished it yet, but I started watching Hitman, directed by Richard Linklater. And that's a film like watching. I'm just like, this should have been on the big screen. Like this is a rom com, a crowd pleasing rom com, and it's like, what are you gonna do? Like, why watch it like with a couple people like at home, and it's like cheer? It's like probably not. But if you watch it with a couple hundred people in the theater, you're gonna cheer. So it's just, I don't know. It's frustrating. Matt, it's the greatest edited film ever. That's fair. Honestly, like I'm not gonna disagree with that because it's definitely up there for me. Like the editing is so good and it matches the score perfectly. I let's need to watch Gone Girl as well. Yes, Gone Girl, so good, man. I watched it in October of 2014, so it's almost 10-year anniversary when I first saw it. Andrew Lay hot take: Lord of the Rings trilogy is overrated. Rolled my eyes most of the time, fell asleep for the last 20, 30 minutes during each of them, and I live in New Zealand where they were made, bro. Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, that definitely is a hot take. I guess I'll ask: are you a fan in general of like the fantasy genre, as well as like medieval kind of stuff, or not really? Just out of curiosity. I don't know. Like that's the thing. Like I try to be as objective as possible. So like I love Lord of the Rings. I do. But speaking from a filmmaking perspective, I don't really think it's overrated. Like I understand from an entertainment perspective why you might feel that way, but from a filmmaking standpoint, with what it was able to do, I mean, it just man, like so good. Like that scale. It's like Braveheart. I think Braveheart's just a solid film, but like the scale of that film and what it was able to do, I appreciate it. Um, these splits, I'm pretty sure I've only seen seven, and Fight Club from Fincher. Haven't continued past the first load of Lord of the Rings, but I really like the first one. Plan on doing the other two. Yeah, if you get a chance, I would highly recommend you check out the other Fincher films. Panic Room's solid. That's not really my favorite. Curious Case of Benjamin Button, I think, doesn't get talked about enough. I do think it's a great film though, and it's deceptively sad and thought provoking. It's like the better version of Forrest Gump. Excuse me. The game is a lot of fun. I do enjoy it quite a bit. The game, the game is one that I think I'm hoping it gets a physical media release because that one was a lot of fun. That was basically Fincher's take on like Los Amore. Like it's a very stylish film. And with Lord of the Rings, yeah, I would recommend you check out the second and third as well. I think the first one does a great job of setting up the other two, but that's what I love about Lord of the Rings is that each one does stand on its own. Like you technically could just watch the first Lord of the Rings and it still works. Zodiac's great too. Zodiac's one of those films where it's like I love it, but I don't rewatch it as much as Fincher's other stuff. But when I do, I'm like, yeah, that's a great film. Um, Andrew Lay, yeah, I put off seeing Lord of the Rings for a long time because I'm not a fan of fantasy. You're right, so I'm afraid to start Harry Potter marathon now. Oh, dude, don't do that. Don't do that. So the reason why I ask is because fantasy I like, but then there's a lot of times where I don't like it. So with fantasy, especially in the last 20 years, there's an over reliance on obvious CGI. Like going back to what I was talking about with Fincher, Fincher relishes in CGI that's not obvious. So it's fine. It blends in seamlessly with everything that was shot in camera. But fantasy, oftentimes in the last 20 years, it's shot so that way you notice everything that's not real. You know that everything in the center of the frame isn't real. So it's like it immediately becomes distracting. And I'm not saying that's the case with the Harry Potter films, but what I will say is that they are quite long. And I'm saying this as someone that likes them. Like I watch them with my wife. She's a huge fan of Harry Potter, but they're not at the same level as Lord of the Rings. And that's not even like a subjective view. That's an objective view. You look at the filmmaking aspects, there's not a question in my mind which is better. But I would still say check out it. But if you're not really a fan of fantasy, I would say put it on the back burner. If you want great fantasy, my favorite fantasy, it's not even Lord of the Rings. My favorite fantasy is a film called Pan's Labyrinth. That film is amazing. It is everything that I could possibly want in a fantasy film. And I truthfully do not see that film being topped at all. in regards to fantasy for me. It's so good. It's like an adult bedtime story. It's very disturbing in some cases. It's also a war film. So I don't know how you feel about the war genre, but maybe the blending of like two genres, maybe that would do the trick. Because I mean, I guess you could argue Lord of the Rings is a blending of two genres, but Pan's Labyrinth more so. Just where Lord of the Rings is solid along with Hobbit. Hobbit, I wasn't a fan of, but I am actually planning to give it a second chance pretty soon. Ace Splits, fantasy wise, Game of Thrones is the best I've seen. That's fair. I mean, honestly, we got Game of Thrones because of Lord of the Rings, and that's something like I always appreciate. Um, but I do love both. I do think they're both great. I own both on 4K. Just Square the Rings of Power though is you let down season one not as good as original movies. Yes, and that's because there's such an over reliance on CGI. There's just not really a lot of care put into the characters. Like when you think of Lord of the Rings, there's so much care that's put into the setting. There's a blending of practical and CGI effects. That's not really the case with like the Hobbit films and even Rings of Power, and that's why Rings of Power I really don't have any interest in season two. After season one, I'm just like, I'm bailing. Andrew Lay, I need to see Pan's Labyrinth then. As I love Guillermo del Toro, Hellboy is fantasy, right? I kind of liked that. Yeah, I would recommend if you like Del Toro, I would highly recommend Pan's Labyrinth. So for me, Del Toro, my favorite work of his, it goes Pan's Labyrinth, Shape of Water. I think Shape of Water is incredible, and then third place is probably Nightmare Alley. It's actually climbed the ranks. I think that movie is so good. It's him working at the height of his career. But yeah, check out Pan's Labyrinth. It's so good. It's so good. I'm so glad I watched that. Just where I loved Pan's Labyrinth, dude. That's awesome. I'm glad that you liked it. Honestly, the Pale Man design with the eyes, that is probably my favorite creature design. I actually have a shirt, like literally of the creature doing that. 'Cause I'm just like, it's such a cool design. You don't like you don't see something like that too often. Splits. My friend just started watching Twin Peaks: The Return. He says it's one of the best things he's seen already. Yeah, Twin Peaks: The Return is amazing. I remember the first time I saw it, like week to week. I would talk about that show with friends, and it's like we all were just like, I have no clue what's going on, but I'm digging it. And it's like once it ends, you're like, what did I just watch? But like when you rewatch it more and more, it's like it gets better and better. Twin Peaks rocks. I've been playing around with possibly rewatching it, honestly. Well, by rewatching, I mean rewatching season one, the beginning of season two, finale of season two, and then just watching Twin Peaks: The Return. It is episodic to an extent. Season one, not so much. Season two, yes, because what happened was season two, the network pretty much took over. They were like, you know what, Laura Palmer, we need to figure out who it is that killed her. So they did that in the first couple episodes, and then David Lynch was like, I'm out. So then he started doing some of his other movies, and then towards the end, they were like, well, the ratings are down. You should probably come back. He's like, all right, fine, I'll finish it off. And then it got canceled. And ironically, the finale said, see you in 25 years. And 25 years later, we got Twin Peaks: The Return. So it's pretty interesting. My friend gave the movie a 9.5. Twin Peaks the movie or Pan's Labyrinth the movie? No square. If you love war movies, hands down, Saving Private Ryan. One is one of my favorite movies, top 10. Oh, that's fair. Honestly, for me, Saving Private Ryan, it might be a hot take, but it's actually not even in my top 10 war films. I think it's a good film. I think it's got an incredible opening 25 minutes. But after that, I kind of felt indifferent towards it, like on rewatch. My favorite war film is like The Thin Red Line, just to get an idea on like the kind of war films I like. Paths of Glory is up there. I think Paths of Glory is pretty great. Full Metal Jacket. Um, the shoot 'em up kind of action films that are like the war films, they don't really do it for me as much anymore. It's more of like the methodical, like philosophical, like the nature of war. Like those are more so the ones that like I'm intrigued by nowadays. But if you get a chance, the Thin Red Line, I highly recommend. And ironically, the Thin Red Line came out the same year, Saving Private Ryan. So when people are like, "Oh, Shakespeare in Love should have won Best Picture, Saving Private Ryan should have," I always say to myself, I think the Thin Red Line should have won. Ace Blood's Twin Peaks the movie. Twin Peaks the movie is okay, but I have been wanting to rewatch it. And honestly, what's kind of interesting is that the movie ties into the show, like Twin Peaks: The Return, and Twin Peaks: The Return references it, and then it kind of gives you some appreciation to the movie, which I like. But I need to rewatch that. East West, have you seen Band of Brothers? I heard that was really good. Just well, yeah, Band of Brothers was great. Yeah, Band of Brothers I only saw once, but I really liked it. I do need to watch The Pacific. I heard that's great as well. That's a good companion piece. Both are on HBO. Angela, yo, I just saw Past Glory 2 days ago. So good. I still prefer Doctor Strangelove from Kubrick though. Yeah. Oh, that's cool that you just saw Paths of Glory 2 days ago. Yeah, Paths of Glory. The ending is just like so haunting. It's such a sad movie. Like it's so heartbreaking. And Doctor Strangelove's great. Honestly, Doctor Strangelove. There's a movie that came out the same year as Doctor Strangelove, and it's called Failsafe. And Failsafe is like the serious version of Doctor Strangelove. I honestly like it more because like it's gonna sound weird, but I enjoy Doctor Strangelove, but I also appreciate it more than I enjoy it. Versus Failsafe, I was entertained by it, but then I also really appreciated it. So if you get a chance, I recommend checking out Failsafe. It's great. Um, he said you have to watch the movie before you start season three. Is that true? Um, yes, I would say the way the order works is watch season one, two, then watch the movie, then watch the return, and then it'll make sense. Is what's heard. The Pacific is underrated. As Rami Malek in it. Yeah, it's young Rami Malek from what I understand. Just where the thin red line, Full Metal, even Hunt for October, all awesome. Yeah, agreed. There's other ones too. Let me quickly check Letterbox. One second. This is what I love about Letterbox. I can just quickly look something up by like a genre. Because sometimes off the top of my head, sometimes I'm like, oh, that's why I try to have like lists. If we're talking war films, and some other ones, again, just so you guys get an idea on some of my favorite war films. Apocalypse Now. I actually rewatched that recently. That's an incredible film. Easily one of the best films of all time. Actually, one of the best pieces of art of all time. Schindler's List. Just an incredible experience. Um, I mentioned how I'm not a big fan of like the shoot 'em up kind of like war action films as much. But something like Platoon, I think, is really good. I think it does a really interesting job of depicting Vietnam. I would also say Oppenheimer, to an extent, could be looked at as a war film, and I think that's a brilliant piece of cinema. Barry Lyndon's amazing. Every shot feels like it is a picture frame. It's amazing. Bridge on the River Kwai is also great. Lawrence of Arabia, those are also great. The Killing Fields, hard watch for sure, but it's necessary. Um, come and see. Come and see is really good. If you're part of the Letterboxd community, a lot of people really love that. A lot of people have that in their top two war films. Can respect that. It's really good. And then Kingdom of Heaven. I really like Kingdom of Heaven, the extended cut. I think that it's a very interesting take on the Crusades. So I would recommend that as well. Really good Ridley Scott film. Ace Bless, my friend, as the leftovers top three thoughts. Um, I actually have a friend also that has like the leftovers pretty high up on his TV show list, and I can respect it. I mean, I owned leftovers like the first two seasons on what's it called, Blu-ray, and I think that it is a really good show. The second time I watched it, I liked it even more, so I can respect that. It's not my top three though. I really didn't like what they did with the intro, the theme song. The first season, the theme song is so haunting, so beautiful, and then the season two, it feels like a sitcom. Didn't like that. Just Guerrero, Rami Malek, love Mr. Robot. Yes, we got another Mr. Robot fan. That's my favorite show. I love that show. The filmmaking is just outstanding in that. I really dig it. Also, Andrew, in regards to fantasy, let me quickly go back on Letterboxd just so I can give you some other fantasy films that, even if you're not necessarily a fan of the genre, let me recommend. One second. Like I said, this is what I love about Letterboxd. One second, guys. Sorry, Letterboxd is a little slow right now. Fantasy. Okay, I found it. So, in terms of fantasy films, The Seventh Seal, that's a great fantasy film. The Green Mile, Being John Malkovich is utterly insane. It's amazing, though. I highly recommend that, Andrew. The Lighthouse, outstanding work of art, no question. If you really want to go down the rabbit hole of fantasy, House, that's a great film. Chronicle, that's another good one. Eraserhead, Father's Day is right around the corner. Highly recommend Eraserhead for Father's Day. Um, do it. Just do it. Ace Blitz, what do you prefer, Proxy or Hello Elliot? Let me off the top of my head, I don't know. Let me quickly look in terms of Mr. Robot. Proxy, I think it's the one episode, but I just want to double check. One second. The reason why I'm on my phone, guys, it's literally just to fact check, which I prefer. So if you had asked me when I first saw the show, like when I was binge watching it, I would have told you proxy authenticated required over Hello Elliot. But when I watched it the second time and I think the third time I saw it, I would say Hello Elliot because it's an incredible finale to TV. It's great. Just a rare Schindler's List is classic. Oppenheimer is great, just a tad bit long. Oh, really? Oh, that's a shame that you feel that way. I mean, I get that. Personally, I loved Oppenheimer. That was my favorite film of last year, which is why I was glad they won Best Picture. I loved like the way that film moved. Like I saw it twice in theaters. I saw it twice on 4K. It's one of those films where it's like it's so dialogue driven and it's 3 hours long and it's like it's consistently intense. I loved that. I loved how it's like it really built. Hey Splits, what's your biggest TV show and movie hot take? Oh boy. I'm trying to think of TV shows. I think my biggest TV show hot take as of right now might be that I think that Yellowstone is very, very, very middle of the road. It's a show that I should love because I love westerns. I love Kevin Costner. I love morally complex characters, but the show is just very, very, very stupid. It's just the way it's written is just so not good. It feels like a product as opposed to a TV show with a lot of love and care. And I couldn't buy it. Like any time that there was like an episode where all of a sudden characters are just doing this random stuff, I'm like, oh, so this is for a spinoff show, Ranch 666. And the next thing we know, it's like, oh, there's a show coming out called Ranch 66. And I was like, oh wow, what a surprise. Like it just feels like a product. It doesn't feel like there's any care put into it. And that's why like the second half of season 5, whenever it comes out, I'm like, I'm sure it's going to be just setting up to spin off yet another Yellowstone show. It's just so frustrating. It feels like such a scam, man. In terms of movie hot take, I used to have a lot, but I don't know. I guess one of my hot takes in terms of movies is that The Last Jedi of Star Wars, like, it's not bad, really isn't. Trying to think of other hot takes. Off the top of my head, what are some other hot takes I have? Oh, Forrest Gump, not a good movie. Yeah, I said it. That's one that people always are like, "What?" Yeah, it's not a good movie. And the fact that it won Best Picture over Pulp Fiction and Shawshank Redemption is inexcusable. Um, yeah, it's such a frustrating movie. Um, let's see. I've never seen Yellowstone. Assuming you don't recommend it, yeah, don't waste your time on it. And honestly, I think that's maybe why I'm frustrated with Sons of Anarchy right now is because I see a lot of I see a lot of when I'm watching Sons of Anarchy, I see a lot of stuff that it seems like Taylor Sheridan, who again is the showrunner of Yellowstone and stars in Sons of Anarchy, it seems like he took all the wrong stuff of Sons of Anarchy and put it into Yellowstone. And for me, that's what really makes it like one of those like eye rolling things when I'm watching Sons of Anarchy, where I'm like, bro, you just you miss the appeal of Sons of Anarchy. Like it's not because of the melodrama, it's because of these characters and with what they're going through. That's what's interesting. Um, I feel like another hot take you have is I know you still like, but you don't like the Sopranos, The Wire as much as everyone else. I was gonna mention that, but I still have them rated pretty highly, but I just they're not like how do I put this? It's like Goodfellas. I think Goodfellas is good. I respect what it did for film, but I just don't come back to it that often. That's kind of how I am right now with The Sopranos and The Wire. I think both are really good in terms of with what they were able to do for TV shows, but I just haven't really had the urge to revisit either of them. I haven't. But I might be rewatching The Sopranos soon. I know my wife wants to check it out, like rewatch it, I should say. So maybe I'll check it out soon. Trying to think of some of my other hot takes. Let me see. I think what I can actually do on Letterboxd, I can actually have it where it's like my lowest rated versus people's highest rated. So let me actually check on Letterboxd right now. I can actually let you know. Um, 1 second. Sorry, guys. I'm just checking real quick. That's the thing. Like in terms of like hot takes, I usually don't have too many because even if I don't love something, I can still say something's like solid and be like, yeah, I get why someone might like it. I know some people might not have heard of this film, but there's a film called Pather Panchali. It's a film based in India. Came out in 1955, and I respect what it did in regards to telling a slice of life story. But I thought that movie was like a little too slow for me, and I only respected it. I don't think I could watch it again. Um, trying to think of some other ones. Uh, I guess one hot take is that let me go back. Where is it? Recently, Tokyo Godfather. I saw that for the first time. I thought it was solid. Didn't love it the way a lot of people do. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like I'm looking at a lot of these, and a lot of these, like I can at least understand why someone would like it. Taxi Driver, I know I originally didn't like it, but now I like it like much more. He splits a lot of people think 1 to 3 of Sons of Anarchy is pretty goofy. It gets a lot better. Yeah, I think I would feel that way honestly. Like so far, it just it doesn't have that like serious gritty tone that I always hear about. Um, see. Just to go back to horror thriller. Check out Yellow Jackets. Christina Ricci psycho characters in it. I've heard Yellow Jackets is good, and I do like her as an actress. Angela, I don't really watch TV shows or series, but I just saw Chernobyl and it was great. Oh, dude, yeah, Chernobyl's amazing. I know that on 4K. That was such a sad show, but it's so good. Just Square, if you like Breaking Bad, definitely watch Better Call Saul. I loved that as well. Yeah, Better Call Saul is really good. I think it's a good companion piece. Ace Split's heard Chernobyl's amazing. Yeah, I've seen Better Call Saul, both are incredible. Yeah, you should definitely watch Chernobyl. It's amazing what it was able to accomplish, honestly. Like, miniseries in many ways have kind of felt like extended movies, and I think that Chernobyl is one of the best miniseries to come out sometime. Andrew, I'd say Chernobyl is probably the most important series ever. Like Schindler's List is the most important movie ever. Yeah, that's fair. Honestly, yeah, I would say in terms of importance, Chernobyl definitely is because it shows the corruption, power, um, and unfortunately how the everyday man faces the consequences of people in high power. Um, and there's also just so many like nuances to that show that I appreciate. Like I love. I know it's based on a true story, but I still don't want to spoil anything. But there is one thing I did want to talk about real quick about Chernobyl. There's one scene where they're going into a radioactive zone, and they're told that they only have 60 seconds before it's point of no return, and then they'll have to come back. So, what does the filmmaker decide? You know what? We're going to have this scene play out in real time, 60 seconds. And it makes that 60-second like long take feel like heart pounding, like just anxiety inducing. It's so like something like that. I just really appreciate it. Also, how it recreates like actual real life footage of the events. It's a necessity. If you like TV shows, if you like films, regardless, you need to watch Chernobyl. It's not even a question. And it's only like 5 episodes, I think. Ace, what's it's only 5 episodes, right? Yeah, I believe so. And it's like an hour each. I think the finale is like an hour and a half, but it's one of the saddest episodes of TV you'll ever see in the last like 10 minutes specifically. But the acting is powerful. I mean, it's everything I like. It's got a courtroom drama, but it's also like a thriller. One episode is like a horror episode. It feels like. I mean, you get every aspect of that incident. It's so good. It's such an important show. Ace Blitz. Oh, that's an easy watch then. It's not an easy watch. It's very hard to watch, but it's a necessity. Um, I've seen it. I think it's 3 times. That's not to say like it's easy. Like if I'm in the mindset of where it's like, oh, I need something important, I need something that's like puts me in a certain mindset. Like Chernobyl is usually that show I'll go to. Just where I started watching Chernobyl, but never got back into it after episode 1. Oh, you should continue, man. Episode 2 has some of the best makeup I've seen on TV. Like a lot of it seemed like in terms of episode 2 of Chernobyl, it seemed like a mix of the makeup of like the sloth victim in Seven with like some of the violence in Hannibal. It's pretty impressive makeup work. I'm not gonna lie. Um, Express. When I eventually do True Detective, do you recommend just season 1? Um, Honestly, no. I would say screw it. I'd say watch all 4 seasons. Just don't expect the same quality of season 2, 3, and 4. They're all like solid. But if you watch season 1 and you say that you think it's just good and that you want the same quality, then yeah, I would stop because seasons 2 is kind of like a convoluted mess. It does have some entertainment to it for sure. Season 3 is a step in the right direction, and season 4 has some cool elements, and on paper it should work, but it has some issues too. It's like Fargo in some ways. Angela, I have my mind blown yesterday learning the main actor in Chernobyl also played Ulysses Grant in Lincoln 2012, which is one of my favorite films of all time. Yes, he did. What's his name? Jared Harris. He also plays Moriarty in Sherlock Holmes too. He's great in that. He splits his different characters, right? Yes, yeah. It's like a mythology show. Although I will say seasons 3 and 4 try to tie into season 1. But yeah, you can just watch season 1 if you really just want to. You don't necessarily have to watch the others. But I do own seasons 2 and 3 on Blu-ray. Big Little Lies is another show I'd recommend. Splits as Fargo, your favorite season 1. Oh, that's tough. It might be. I'm trying to think. That's tough. Fargo or Hannibal season 1. That's tough. Yeah, I might have to say Fargo because that's what got me into TV shows. Because like prior to that, I just watched a lot of like sitcoms from the 50s, 60s. So that was like my first endeavor. Like Breaking Bad's usually the first endeavor for a lot of people, but Fargo was my first endeavor. I suppose what's your rating for all the Hannibal seasons? So I actually have that written down. Let me see. Hmm, second. So Hannibal, let me go to my ranking. So Hannibal season 1, I gave a 9.6 out of 10. Season 2, 9.8 out of 10, and then season 3, 9.3 out of 10. So they all got A's. One was close to an A plus. A splits. Yeah, Breaking Bad is what got me into TV. Yeah, for most people it did because I mean that's like a very cinematic show. Angela Lincoln is my favorite too. It's my birthday watch. He died on the day. Oh wow. Yeah, Lincoln is one of my favorite films of all time. Top 25. I usually try to watch it on election day every year. It gives me a good excuse. A splits. I heard the only reason people didn't like 3 was it was too artsy. Yeah, too artsy, and then also it makes some choices that I could see angering people that like really liked season 2 of Hannibal. But I mean I still recommend season 3 though. Like I think it does a good job of like giving closure to the story. But you could technically end like if you were someone like if I knew you and it was like the type of situation where you're like I hate our house storytelling. Like it's like I can barely tolerate season 1 and 2 of Hannibal in terms of like the art house tendencies, then I probably would say just stop at season 2. But if you're someone that like experimental storytelling, yeah, go with season 3. It's pretty great. Um, he splits. I have a friend who has a hot take. Season 3 was actually his favorite. Honestly, I love hearing that. This is where do you prefer the original or current versions of Dune movie? Oh, hands down, the new movies. I'm a huge David Lynch fan. I think he is one of the best directors. And without a doubt, David Lynch's Dune is my least favorite movie of his. Um, wasn't a fan. Wasn't a fan. And in fact, watching David Lynch's Dune, I really didn't understand the appeal. Watching Denis Villeneuve's part 1 and 2 of Dune, I see the appeal. I think they're both great sci-fi films for the 2020s. And hopefully studios look at those two movies' success as you know, learning the right reasons as to why they're a success and not the wrong ones. Splits, I will most definitely watch season 3. David Lynch did Twin Peaks as well, right? Yes, he did. And he hasn't made a film since Inland Empire, and Inland Empire is a good film. David Lynch's films and to an extent his TV show Twin Peaks, they are the type of movies that you want to watch late at night. Like when your mind is like lucid, it's like you're heading into that like dream state of consciousness. That's how you want to watch his films. I would highly recommend it. One of my favorite film experiences was watching Inland Empire at 2 a.m. Watching Mulholland Drive, the Silencio scene at 3 a.m. Holy cow! It felt like a religious experience. Everybody that's a fan of David Lynch needs to do it at least once. Seriously, the dreamlike state of consciousness of his films really, really enhances that. I'm telling you. Um, Andrew Leigh, Lisa Alcott, yes, it is written. Ace Plus, when I do Twin Peaks in this movies, I'll do it at night. Yes, seriously, like it is the way to go, especially Twin Peaks: The Return. Um, not as much Twin Peaks season 1 and 2, but definitely Twin Peaks: The Return. You also should watch Mulholland Drive and Inland Empire. I think both of those are worth a watch. What did you rate The Return? I think I rated it like I want to say a 9.5. Let me see. I have my ratings. Let me go to my tabs for Twin Peaks. This is what's nice about keeping the information on my phone. So let's compare. Huh. So I actually, it looks like I didn't put Twin Peaks in my notes in regards to the ratings, but I'm pretty sure I have it as like a 9.5 out of 10. I have it pretty highly rated. Just rare cool. Thanks for the feedback. Of course, man. Anytime. Like I said, I think that watching films in like the right setting is just great. Like one of the things I've always said is like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the 1974 original, that should be shown like in August weather, like in the theater. That should be like a 4D experience where it's like as you're watching that film, the heat of the theater is like gradually going up. So it's like when you're watching the film, you're all like sweaty because it's a film that takes place in the Texas heat. So it's like I don't know, or like The Shining or The Thing, like watching that in the winter time, like all cold, like it makes it even more immersive, I think. Ace Blitz. Is it true Hannibal's character talking riddles? That's what I've heard. Yes. So the thing is with Hannibal is, and this is what I think is fascinating about him, is that he he has a plan at almost all times, but he also does things just to see what will happen. He's just curious. He's like, I think I know what's going to happen, but let me do this to see if it will happen. And I think it just really gives a sense of unpredictability to not only his character but the show itself around him. So I would say that yeah, that matches. I mean, he says a lot of like stuff where it's like because we know who he is, he'll say some stuff, and you're like, oh, I see what you're saying, and I also see that these people around you don't see what you're saying because they think they know who you are as like an everyday citizen, not the actual real Hannibal Lecter. I could be wrong. Doesn't even work with the police in the TV show. Um, Without spoiling anything, yes and no. He has some involvement with it, but I don't really want to spoil like what necessarily. But Will Graham's technically the lead character of Hannibal, and he is involved with the police. Usually I just left my job at cinema, but I was there for June 2, saw in length 4 times, popped my head in for snippets countless times. I think my eyes have turned fully blue now. I love that. Dude, that's cool. That must be so cool to work at a cinema and to get to see Dune Part 2 4 times. I mean, that's awesome. That must have been cool too, especially to see like, audiences' reactions to that film because because I know that movie like audiences really ate up, which is cool. Ice Blitz is kind of like Dexter's vibes. Um, Yes and no. It's kind of a different flavor, but there's definitely some correlations between the two. Like with Will Graham, he's always called on to like investigations involving serial killers, where it's like, hey, we need to know like we need to find this out. You're our best guy. Can you help us? Yeah, sure. And it's like he does, he then tries to figure it out. But what I like about Hannibal is that you get to see like how he is able to empathize with these serial killers and put himself in their shoes, and then we see like how the murder takes place, but it's from Will Graham's perspective, like doing it, so it makes it like all the more like kind of creepy, but it's effective. One of my friends works in a cinema as well. Apparently, they get to see movies for free and early. Her Hannibal's one of the smartest TV characters ever. Yeah, I know, well, new people that work at a local theater, and they said the same thing, that it's a very interesting experience. And yes, Hannibal is one of the smartest TV characters. In fact, seeing his plan on spool for the first two seasons, like how early on in season one he has planned the events of season two, it's pretty amazing. And it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, I don't believe that he knew all this stuff. It's like, no, you kind of do, because you know how smart he is, you know how calculating he is, and why he does certain things. It's like just goes to showcase that. It's very good writing, in my opinion. It's good. It's good to see so many people out on the stream, though. I've always wanted to do streams like earlier, but I know usually, I have like work and whatnot, and then other people I see, are in different like time zones, so I know it can be difficult for many people. Usually we had to pay $2 per ticket, as the boss doesn't like to say it's free for anyone. Oh, that's a shame. But I mean, at the same time, $2 really isn't that bad. I have AMC A list, so it's like I only pay, I think it's $22, and I can see up to a dozen movies in theaters every month, which includes Dolby and IMAX. So it's a steal. Honestly, they're losing money at this point in regards to me. So let's hear Oz actually started the golden age of TV. Yep, that's true, and really doesn't get enough credit because it started it in a way that also people don't want to admit, but it also started the whole thing of like killing multiple characters that you get to know and love. Um, Great show. Can't articulate. Oz definitely started the golden age of splits. Yes, Oz is very very dark. There's a lot of murder. There's a lot of rape that occurs. Um, there is some levity, like there's humor every now and then, like throughout, but it is a very dark show. I always tell people that because one of my highest viewed videos. Excuse me. Sorry, guys, I didn't mean to yawn. Just 12:30 with where I'm at. Um, One of my most viewed videos is Oz, like the TV show review, and one of the things people always say is like, "Oh my goodness, it's so dark and everything." I'm like, "Yeah, it is," but I'm like at the same time, it's also depicting prison, so it's like makes sense why it's so dark. I was definitely gonna watch it though. There was a musical episode. Yeah. It's about prison, right? I like prison stuff, so I most likely like it. Yeah, and you get to know the characters. Beecham, in particular, is like talk about a character arc. That's a great character arc. I don't know, like in terms of early HBO stuff, that might be my favorite. Can articulate your Oz review videos. First video I watched from you. Oh, I thank you. Yeah, honestly, I'm glad that I made that video because like I always try to review TV shows that I watch, but I remember when I posted that video, I was like, I hope people check this out because maybe me talking so highly of the show will make people say, you know what, I'm going to check this show out. And from based on the comments, it seems like that's the case, or people have like actually been like a fan of the show. I don't know, it just doesn't get enough attention. I feel like. Actually, I saw Dune 2 as a double feature with Dune 1. Everyone in the theater was a Dune fanatic. We were just vibing for 5 hours straight. Holy cow, 5 hours. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Ace Blood J.K. Simmons in it too, right? Yes. Yeah, he's one of the lead actors, and he's really good in that. Angela just Supergirls never saw them. They were like, oh, these movies are crazy. Yeah, they really are. Ace Blood's not kind of HBO. What do you think is the best? I'm assuming AMC because of Breaking Bad and Mad Men. Um, yeah, I might say AMC because I like some of the other shows that I love. They're on networks that it just so happened to be that show that I liked from them was kind of an anomaly. So like something like Hannibal, I love Hannibal, but it's like NBC. It's like NBC is known for like being heavily censored and everything. So it's like I wouldn't use them as like an example, but HBO I would say, and then trying to think of the other one. I would stick with HBO. Can't articulate FX the best for me. Something Anarchy, Stonefall, The Shield, Fargo. Yeah, FX is pretty great. I do need to watch still Snowfall and The Shield. Yes, what's I thought? Hannibal's on Netflix for some reason. I think why you might think that is because when season three ended, there was like a lot of talk that there might be another studio that picks up for season four, and Netflix was in the running for that. But I think that all fell apart, so that's why they didn't do anything. And I still kind of hear rumors every now and then of like a season four of Hannibal. Dark, in terms of Netflix shows, Dark is probably my favorite. Dark's incredible, mind bending, mind bending show. Get get a marker and get a whiteboard when you're watching the movie because you need to write everything down. There's so many things going on to that because it's three different time periods, but it's so good. I can't translate Dark is incredible. This intro theme too. Yeah, I mean that intro is pretty great. I also liked the creator also did a show called 1899. I also liked that one too. Not as much as Dark, of course, but still liked it. It's definitely gonna watch it. I love real complex stuff. Yeah, me too, man. I definitely recommend Dark. It's hard though because it's like I think it's in my top 10, but it's like that's a show that it's like I always try to advise people like, hey, you're getting yourself into like a show that's like dealing with a lot, but it's so good. Express for True Detective has a good intro. Yes, True Detective, specifically season one, that intro is pretty much iconic at this point. It's so good. For some reason, I've seen some hate on it recently, probably because of season four. Season four, there was like a lot of people that didn't like it, which I always thought was kind of baffling because it's like season four is not bad. Excuse me. I apologize about that. I know I meant dark. Oh, really? It's so weird. I'm like, it's so weird that Dark has like hate on it. That's such a great show. Maybe some people just don't understand it. Yeah, not like in Dark. That's huh. Yeah, I'm curious to see why they said that. Apparently, some people don't like season three, and so there's a lot of plot holes. Oh, plot holes. Plot holes is a bunch of baloney. I hate when people say that. Most of the time, when people say "quote unquote" plot holes, it's more of like the director gave you the information, and you just have to put two and two to get the information. But some people don't want to put the work in when watching a movie or a TV show. So it's like, why did they do that? And then instead of like thinking about it, going through the film or the TV show to figure out why, it's like, I don't know, it's just gonna have this like this. So plot hole. And I don't know, it's just so frustrating. I one friend who hates it so much they actually wrote an entire essay how he hates it. Interesting. That's very interesting. That's hard to believe because that show is great. Like, not even subjectively speaking, like objectively, it's very well put together. That's pretty hated on Discord and TikTok. Well, it doesn't surprise me about either app. I mean, especially TikTok. Andrew Lay hot take. Everything Pulp Fiction board makes up Uma Thurman. I look up explainers, where I think it's meaningless. Felt too overly self-indulgent as well. Oh, that's a shame, man. So one of the things about Pulp Fiction is that it follows a like slice of life, nonlinear storytelling perspective. So it's like you're vibing with these characters for 2.5 hours. And I understand why you might not necessarily be interested in lead characters because it's like, they're hitmen. It's like, and a lot of them have like flaws and everything. But in my eyes, in making all these characters have flaws, it gives them a sense of realism, like down to earth. And that's why it, like, later on, it's like more impactful. These plus apparently people don't think the dark characters are interesting and only the story. That's so frustrating. I definitely don't agree with that. So one answer can't articulate its comment, and then I actually probably will be heading out because, like I said, it is late for me. But I'll try to do more live streams. Can articulate any movie you're looking forward to this summer. I was waiting for Hitman for a whole year, and I thought it was great. On the topic of Hitman, I started watching it earlier today. I still have like 25 minutes left, and so far I like it. I definitely see why you think it's great because it does feel different from like other Hitman films. Ace Splits, another one of my friends has it as the number one show. Very fair. Or number two. Andrew Lake Pulp Fiction seems to be very similar to Magnolia. Yeah, I love Magnolia a lot more. Hey, honestly, that's one of the reasons why like sometimes I might not necessarily love a film, but I'll still respect it because of what it did. Um, I like Magnolia. I love Magnolia, actually, I'll say. But I also understand that without Pulp Fiction, probably wouldn't get a Magnolia. Probably wouldn't get a Boogie Nights. Probably wouldn't get a Secrets and Lies. So it's like stuff like that. I respect the fact that they went that way. At least what's I'm into, by the way. Yep. But all right, guys. Like I said, I'm going to be heading off. But I wanted to say I appreciate you guys, tuning in, especially like this late at night. I'll try to have another live stream like next week. But I hope you guys keep in touch. I know Andrew. I know start following you on Letterboxd. Can't articulate. Always look forward to reading your reviews. Ace. Always make sure to get Letterboxd. I look forward to seeing you on there eventually. Eventually. And we'll, of course, be in touch in regards to Sons of Anarchy. But Ace Barry is worth watching. But I hope you guys have a good rest of your night. And like I said, I'll try to have a live stream next week. But I will get you guys later.